Color guard, present the colors. Color guard, post the colors. The invocation will be delivered by Lieutenant Commander John R. Black, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy.
Let us pray. Eternal God, we have gathered at this time-honored ceremony to celebrate the distinguished career of Hospital Corpsman Senior Chief, Surface Warfare, Bruce E. DeLashmit. Since those days in July 1978 as a seaman recruit at ROTC Great Lakes, until the present, he has served you and his country with honor, courage, and commitment. Through his personal example, words of wisdom, and untarnished character, this man has been able to call all of us to excellence. Long after he returns to the civilian community, his mantra to always do the right thing will be repeated in some work center each day. And when we are tempted to take those easy ways out and to run from the challenge of the day, our consciences will be pricked with his voice ringing in our ears. Stupid is as stupid does. Even for those times, we will give you thanks. No, he is not perfect. For 20 years, we could not get him to properly pronounce his last name. But we're grateful for his ability to live effectively in our imperfect world. His ability to rise above the madness of the institutions is a legacy that will remain indelible at this command. So on this day, the day we have set aside to celebrate Senior's career, we pray that his words will encourage him in the wonderful days that lie ahead. May he always remember that the best way to predict the future is to create it. Humbly we ask this, O Lord. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ceremony. Ready. Good afternoon, Rear Admiral Potter, distinguished guests, family, and friends. Welcome to the retirement celebration for Senior Chief Hospital Corpsman, Surface Warfare, Bruce E. DeLashmit, United States Navy. At this time, it is a distinct pleasure to introduce the officiating officer, Captain Frank E. McGuire, Medical Corps, United States Navy, Deputy Commander, National Naval Medical Center.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Admiral Potter and the entire National Naval Medical Center family, welcome to Bethesda and to this special occasion. Needless to say, this is going to be a difficult day for me. I'm sure it's going to be a difficult day for Senior Chief Sharkey, too. The bottom line is we're going to get through this, although I'm not too impressed with the way we started when we didn't even go to the right chair, Senior Chief. You know, he's a guy I count on, and look what he did to us. But okay, neither here nor there. The bottom line is there's a lot of stuff going on around National Naval Medical Center. The Admiral and I have repeatedly commented to people that if we were providing good leadership, we would set real clear, distinct priorities, and we keep saying there's 3 priority ones. Our priority 1 is to be prepared for the JCHO inspection, which kicks in within the next 10 days. The other priority number 1 is to get everyone ready to deploy in the comfort. And the third priority number 1 is to stand up TRICARE in such a fashion that all of our patients are taken care of better than they've ever been taken care of before. My confidence in our ability to successfully complete 3 simultaneous missions of that magnitude has always been bolstered knowing that we have staff like Senior Chief to get the job done. Senior Chief was very careful, and he managed to muster 2 guest speakers, so I'm going to keep my comments relatively short. But I'm going to be left with an image, ever since I became deputy, of Senior Chief walking into my office in the morning, sensing when I was a little bit overwhelmed, cradling his cup of coffee, and saying, "Deputy, what can I do for you?" And I'll tell you, Senior Chief, you are my go-to chief. I'm going to miss you. Thank you.
I know that you all viewed the picture boards of Senior Chief DeLashmit's Navy career on your way into the ceremony. As you know, with every picture, and there's a lot of pictures out there, there's 1,000 words or at least 1 or 2 sea stories to go with them. Today we have 2 guest speakers, leave it to Senior D not to be able to get it right, usually there's just one, who are going to put his career into words. Without any further delay, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first guest speaker, Captain Lawrence J. Walters, Medical Service Corps, United States Navy, Director for Hospital Administration, National Naval Medical Center.
Thank you, Senior Chief. Admiral Potter, Captain Higgins, Captain McGuire, Master Chief Larson, Cheryl, Christy, John, Sandy, Joe and Elaine DeLashmit, Senior Chief's parents, Jim and Shirley DeLashmit, Patty Darby, Chris and Dave Hull, friends, family, and shipmates. It's with mixed emotions that I stand before you today as the speaker at a retirement for a true friend and one of the finest sailors I've known in my over 30 years of naval service. We are all obviously sad to see a great shipmate leave the crew and go ashore, but we're excited and happy for him and his family as they embark on this new chapter of their life. I'm also very happy that I'm speaking here today, for I was sure from the first I met Bruce DeLashmit that I would either be speaking at a ceremony or a courts-martial, and I'm glad it was here. Well, on a more serious note, Senior Chief DeLashmit, or as most of his friends and colleagues call him, Senior D, has had a naval career that started a mere 19 years and 10 months ago yesterday, just a kiddie cruiser. Leaving his home in Paris, Illinois, he traveled the enormous distance to Great Lakes, Illinois, for recruit training and on to hospital corps school. And from there, he moved to Field Medical Service School at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, a place that still has a great connection to his life, as his daughter Christy and son-in-law both recently graduated from Field Medical Service School and now live in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. After a short stint for senior chief in Camp Lejeune, he reported to electroencephalography technician school at the Naval School of Health Sciences here at Bethesda. It was here that he began to find himself and his calling. A quick glance at his record reveals that he became an expert on drug-induced sleep deprivation cerebral studies, whatever that is. This was just barely the tip of the iceberg. At this early stage, several of his other valuable and infamous talents began to show, as noted by comments from his supervisor, a Commander Delaney, who indicated that he usually shows common sense and moves effectively to meet requirements, and he speaks frequently, fluently, and usually with a good memory for the facts. Our Commander Delaney, the hospital attorney, said when he read this that he thinks these traits still exist, at least that part about speaking frequently and fluently. It was the combining of this common sense approach and excellent communication skills that have become the hallmark of Senior D's career. From NSHS to Navy Regional Medical Center, Charleston, South Carolina, his accomplishments and influence grew, constantly seeking ways to improve quality and capability. As his career developed, the most impressive area of his talents began to appear and became dominant. He was becoming the mentor, coach, teacher, and leader we all know and love. Dr. Neal in Charleston noted how people respond so favorably to his recommendations, and he is able to gain the confidence of all he comes in contact with, and he handles stress well. I sure hope that he has retained this ability as Senior D and his family go through 3 of the 5 most stressful events of life: an identity change from sailor to businessman, a major job change, and a major move to a new location, coupled with 2 teenagers, soon to be grandparents. And look at him, cool, collected, ready for anything. How do you feel, Cheryl? Well, back on our walk through his naval career. A renowned teacher, now back at NSHS, where he increased student retention to 90% of material presented through innovative teaching methods. And most impressive, and I really want to know how he did this, during a period of time when the EEG school was experiencing difficulty maintaining adequate instructor staff, he instructed 233 consecutive hours in the classroom while maintaining all other duties assigned. Can you imagine being locked in a classroom with him for 10 straight days without a break? No wonder the students retained 90% of the material. He wouldn't let them leave till they kept it. Not even a comfort break. It's about time that we talk about what makes him truly the man we know today as our Senior D. To quote the skipper of the USS Chandler, a dynamic leader, manager, counselor, coach, and mentor. No amount of praise can convey this command's pleasure with having him aboard. Others have described him as the ultimate counselor, coach, and take charge mentor. All of us who work with him now know him to be exactly that: seniors, juniors, and peers alike, our counselor, our mentor, our friend, and our coach. Several of Senior's proteges from here at NNMC want to share a few personal thoughts with their mentor. HM2 Googe, would you come forward, please? HM3 McCluskey. and HM3 Maddox. I'm sure we all wish we could hear what was said, but it was a private moment. But we can tell from the look on his face, he's touched by their thoughts. John D. Malone, one of my favorite authors on leadership style, in his book, Love 'Em and Lead 'Em, laid out his commandments of leadership. Several of these commandments are personified in our Senior D. Commandment 2, Thou shalt view thy subordinates as children of God and behave accordingly in the exercise of thy power, recognizing that power corrupts and thou art corruptible. Commandment 3, Thou shalt not bring sadness and gloom into thy workplace. Instead, thou shalt endeavor to enrich the life of each subordinate thou toucheth. And Commandment 9, Thou art responsible for everything thy organization does or fails to do. When things are gangbusters, thou shalt step back and introduce thy subordinates. But when things turn brown, thou shalt step forward, protect them, and take thy licks. Don't these just put a picture of him in your mind? Admiral Rowley certainly must have thought they fit when he said Senior D was a dynamic leader with a unique ability to perceive the best solutions to difficult and multifaceted problems, bring the right team together, motivate them to get the hardest jobs done, and have fun doing it. As Senior D retires from our Navy and steps into his new executive role in the private sector, we know he will excel for these same people, leadership, managerial skills that have served him so well with us. They will carry him forward in his new career. His understanding of the importance and inseparable links between organization, mission, people, culture, customer, and results, and his always, I can do that attitude, are the attributes that will ensure his future success. I recently saw an article, saw the following in an article, and it described him so well. Let me share it with you. Many years ago, a large American shoe manufacturer sent 2 sales executives out to 2 different parts of the Australian outback to see if they could drum up some business among the Aborigines. Sometime later, the company received 2 telegrams from both agents. The first said, "No business here, the natives don't wear shoes." The second, our Senior D, "Great opportunity here, the natives don't wear shoes." Well, in conclusion, we're about to come full circle in the Navy life of Senior Chief Bruce DeLashmit. From Paris, Illinois, to Great Lakes, Illinois, to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, to Bethesda, to Charleston, South Carolina, to Memphis, Tennessee, to Bethesda, to San Diego, to the USS Chandler and 3 years at sea, to Bridgeport, California, back to Great Lakes, back to Bethesda, and then the final move, back to Normal, Illinois. A complete circle. At each step on this path, Senior D has left more behind than he took. He enriched the lives of those whose path he crossed. He has left those of us who remain behind a legacy of service, accomplishment, and friendship in his wake. Senior D, thank you and your family for giving us 20 years of your life. We are all better for it. The United States Navy and America have benefited. I salute you, my friend. Fair winds and following seas.
Our second guest speaker is no stranger to the National Naval Medical Center and is a longtime shipmate and friend of the Senior Chief. Ladies and gentlemen, Master Chief Hospital Corpsman, Fleet Marine Force, Lee Larson, United States Navy, Command Master Chief, U.S. Marine Forces Atlantic, and 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force.
Rear Admiral Potter, Captain McGuire, Captain Higgins, it's great to see you again. Captain Walters, Cheryl and family, you've done it to me again, haven't you? You let me follow the guy who took my speech. You know, one of the things that Captain Walters said, out of the many wonderful things that he said, one thing he said struck me more than anything. The thought that Bruce DeLashmit is going back to normal scares me. You just the thought of that brings so many things to mind for you that I'm not going to do to you today. It is my pleasure, and I truly thank you for the honor to come here today. It's a great pleasure to be back in Bethesda, and Admiral, the place looks magnificent. It just looks grand. In the choir, you sound better than ever. You've obviously been practicing even more than normal. How about a round of applause for the choir? Don't they sound great? One of the great things about having the opportunity to speak at retirement is I can say just about anything I feel like saying, as long as I maintain some semblance of common sense, one of Bruce's great attributes. The very wonderful thing is I get to say good things about good people. Before I say anything good about him, because that will probably be more difficult than I planned, I was caught by what's going on over here in the corner. Could I have all of the chief petty officers here, every one of them, stand up for me, please? Just stand up. Thank you. That, and what those young sailors said to you can probably say more to you and your emotions than anything that the captain or I could say today. And I think that that is absolutely magnificent. Getting the chiefs all in one place at one time is one of those great tricks. But more importantly, evoking emotion from three terrific young sailors is what you do for a living. And what Bruce has done for a living for these last 19 years, I have feelings that are older than that. You have accomplished so much in 19 years. When he and I first met, I was a command master chief at the no, I wasn't, was I? I was a command master chief at the Naval Hospital Corps School. He came by on a house hunting trip and started to tell me where he was going to work. And he was right, of course. He ended up working where he wanted to, and he was doing the job that he should have done. When I left Hospital Corps School, I have many abiding memories of Hospital Corps School. When I left, one of the things that tugged on my heart the most was I really going to have the support, the professionalism, the integrity, and the great comfort that a great chief and senior chief petty officer provide when I got here? I was concerned about that because I didn't know anybody here, I thought. I was concerned because I had left what I thought was a comfort zone and a great family at Naval Hospital Corps School, Great Lakes. I arrived here and found very happily that the same support, the same professionalism, the same integrity was here. But I was exceedingly happy when Bruce decided that he wanted to bring the family back to Bethesda. Of course, that brings up another issue. Why does it take you 3 times of coming back here? I think so. He told me when he got here that he had to do a tour every decade of his naval career, and I think he's done that well. He didn't stay for 3 decades, but you worked it in real well. I'm impressed. Bruce is that type of leader the civilian world is going to be so happy to get, but I can only hope that they recognize just how great a value they have received in him. In American Health, the home office of American Health, there's a picture on the wall that has a cart with people in the cart and people pulling the cart. It takes no great leap of intellect to figure out where Bruce DeLashmit would be in that picture. Bruce would be pulling the cart, pushing the cart, driving the cart, and telling the people in the cart where they needed to sit. And I think that's the mark of what he does. We have had many conversations. We used to, back when you could do those things in the Navy, occasionally go to choir practice, didn't we? Choir practice, if you don't know, is a couple of beers at somebody's house. During those, we solved world hunger. We figured out exactly how to solve every problem the Navy had ever had. I even took some of those ideas with me, and we've already solved every problem the Marine Corps has ever had. The major problem with that is the other folks around us don't agree with the philosophy that he and I had figured out during those choir practices. And that is too bad, because I think the ideas that he has generated, the thought and ideas he's generated in other people, the professionalism that he has engineered out of all of us, and the true friendship he displays are definitely the items that we, as a family here at Bethesda, are going to miss. I know that your family is not going to miss those because they're going to have you at home finally, but we will miss him. Your fellow chiefs will miss him, and my friend, it is truly a pleasure to say so long to a good shipmate. Thank you very much.
Lieutenant Bigby, please escort Mr. and Mrs. Joseph DeLashmit to center stage. Captain McGuire and Senior Chief, please join them there. Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Navy. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Joseph and Elaine DeLashmit have earned grateful appreciation for their unselfish, faithful, and devoted service during their son's naval career. Their unfailing support and understanding helped to make possible their son's lasting contribution to the nation. Given this 8th day of May, 1998, Rear Admiral B.B. Potter, Medical Corps, United States Navy, Commander, National Naval Medical Center. Petty Officers Burke, McCleskey, and Googe, please escort Christina, Jonathan, and Sandra to the stage. Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Navy. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Christina, Jonathan, and Sandra have earned grateful appreciation for their unselfish, faithful, and devoted service during their father's naval career. Their unfailing support and understanding helped to make possible their father's lasting contribution to the nation. Given this 8th day of May, 1998, Rear Admiral B.B. Potter, Medical Corps, United States Navy, Commander, National Naval Medical Center. Chief Brown, please escort Mrs. Cheryl DeLashmit to center stage. Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Navy. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Cheryl DeLashmit has earned grateful appreciation for her unselfish, faithful, and devoted service during her husband's naval career. Her unfailing support and understanding helped to make possible her husband's lasting contribution to the nation. Given this 8th day of May, 1998, Rear Admiral B.B. Potter, Medical Corps, United States Navy, Commander, National Naval Medical Center. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of the Meritorious Service Medal. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Meritorious Service Medal to Senior Chief Hospital Corpsman, Surface Warfare, Bruce E. DeLashmit, United States Navy, for services set forth in the following citation. For outstanding meritorious service as Deputy to the Command Master Chief, Special Assistant to the Deputy Commander, Senior Enlisted Leader for Hospital Administration, Deputy Commander, and Commander Enlisted Staff, and Head Public Safety Department from July 1996 through August 1998. A dynamic leader and counselor recognized for his initiative and resourcefulness, Senior Chief DeLashmit's contributions directly supported the command's mission. As one of the key senior enlisted leaders at the National Naval Medical Center, his dynamic management ensured the operation of multiple enlisted performance review boards, allowing for the review and provision of guidance and drafts for over 3,200 evaluations. He served as the principal counselor and mentor to over 600 enlisted personnel under his direct authority. Additionally, he was sought out as a frequent speaker on Navy programs and policies to military, civilian, and visiting foreign dignitaries. He was specifically requested to speak to visiting Czechoslovakian Republic officers on the roles and responsibilities of the senior enlisted in the United States Navy, and was selected by the command to conduct briefings to foreign dignitaries on foreign deployed medical assets. By his exceptional professional ability, personal initiative, and total dedication to duty, Senior Chief DeLashmit reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, J.L. Johnson, Admiral, United States Navy, Chief of Naval Operations. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Additionally, Senior Chief DeLashmit has received letters of appreciation and encouragement from the Commander-in-Chief, the Surgeon General of the Navy, the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, and the Force Master Chief of the Hospital Corps. Senior Chief DeLashmit, please rise. The Command Master Chief, National Naval Medical Center, Master Chief Hospital Corpsman, Air Warfare, Naval Air Crew will present a gift from the Chief Petty Officers. At this time, your family would like to present you with a special gift.
I'd like to say a few words. I was 18 and Bruce was 17 when Bruce joined the Navy. I cried when he went to boot camp. When he came back from boot camp, he was saying words like honor and loyalty and service to God and country. Suddenly, we didn't just get into the Navy. We were serving in the Navy, and there's a difference. My husband served the Navy from the heart, from the very start. Being married to a sailor and raising a family isn't easy, but not being easy doesn't make it bad. I'd like to take this opportunity to formally thank Bruce's mom and dad for supporting us, financially at first and spiritually always. Without their love and support, we may not have made it to this day. My husband, being in the Navy, has made me a stronger person, capable of handling more than I could have had I not been a Navy wife first. With that said, Bruce, your children and I have a retirement gift for you.
Work with me. The National Ensign will be presented by Hospital Corpsman, 3rd Class, William Maddox, United States Navy. Together we have served, you, your shipmates, and I. And over the years I have watched as 7 generations of sailors such as yourself have carried my staff. I have seen the birth of a nation, the start of a dream. I was raised a fledgling banner, a tempest, and a challenge. I have flown from the mast of great sailing ships when we proclaimed to the world that our nation would be free. In my earliest days, we were wrought with challenge, but I have been born through battle to serve notice to a new world. I am the flag of the United States of America. I shall not bow. I was tested and challenged when our nation was torn. Proud but solemn, we faced our brothers as enemies, but when the smoke cleared, our nation's dream held true, and we welcomed our brothers back home. On a mighty fleet painted as white as my stars, we sailed the world and demonstrated our might. The world would take note, the oceans belong to us. We grew as a nation, and our ships above, below, and upon the sea could block the sun from the horizon. Challenged twice by a world at war, we faced the enemy, and as the guns fell silent on the seas, we proved once more that we are the guardians of peace. Let the world take notice. We have served in foreign lands, where you spread my colors over a people and swore an oath of protection. If you stand with me, you will endure, and you will stand free. We stand together today in this hall, but we do not part. I am joining you for a new journey, a new service that will take you from your shipmates and bear you to a new land and a new life. Together, before these members, we will proclaim, we serve the United States of America. Be proud and fear not. On behalf of your many shipmates, including those who have made the supreme sacrifice, we wish to present you what is known as the military person's most cherished and honored possession, the U.S. National Ensign, flag of the United States of America, one great nation which you have so proudly served and honorably defended. This flag which we so honor and under which we so proudly serve is the true emblem of our unity, our power as a nation. Accept it, protect it, guard it, and so ever remember that the young men and women you have trained, guided, and inspired will follow in your footsteps and defend it with equal pride. On this occasion, it is considered that we have lost a true shipmate while society has gained a fine citizen. We bid you fair winds and following seas, Godspeed, and good luck. Ladies and gentlemen, Senior Chief Hospital Corpsman, Surface Warfare, Bruce E. DeLashmit, United States Navy.
Elaine and I had joked a number of times that if I didn't make through this, she was going to have a little button up here that I could push, and all these video displays would come on with me that says, if you're watching this, then I'm a blubbering idiot. Good afternoon, Admiral Potter. Thank you so much. Captain McGuire, Captain Walters, my family, friends, and shipmates. It's difficult to describe a sailor. Maybe an easy way to do it is to borrow some of the phrases from a great sage, Jeff Foxworthy. If somebody asks you where you're from and it takes you an atlas to answer, you might be a sailor. If your children understand the words geedunk and boondoggle, you might be a sailor. If you live in one state, your car is registered in another state, and your driver's license is from your home state, you might be a sailor. On occasions such as this, it's customary to concentrate on the person retiring. For all of your efforts, and I wouldn't go anywhere near Elaine this morning, but I truly appreciate the time, the effort, the concern, although I'm somewhat embarrassed. Over the years, I've seen and participated in countless retirement ceremonies, and I've watched as every single one of the retirees, and I know that my brother and sister chiefs have watched some of what we believe to be the hardest souls just break down. To those of you who have ever worked for me, me having an emotion might come as a surprise. But to my family, who listened in the evenings as I pined over every one of you and tried to measure myself up against what your expectations were and wondered whether or not I was solid enough and worthy enough to be your leaders. I know that I'll miss all of this, and I'll look back with eyes that'll only see the good times. But there's a few things that I wanted to point out. I thought about where to start, and I thought, well, I could spend some time telling you how much fun I've had, but if you've ever tried to sit through what you wanted to be a serious staff meeting with me in there, then you already know. I could tell you what an honor it has been to work with and for you, but I think you already know that also. I have served with America's finest in all services. Instead, I want to take some time and point out some true American heroes that I think get overlooked often. I want to start where the foundation of my learning began. I was fortunate enough to be born into a family that surrounded me with love and taught me that honesty and hard work will bring its own reward. Being a family of little means, we did without, but with the love given by my mother and my father, we never knew or cared about what we didn't have. I grew up around dinner table conversations, 6 of us kids, each of us telling our stories, our adventures of youth. Mom and Dad would sit at the table and listen, and there was always enough encouragement and praise for all of us. When we would run off on summer's evening to enjoy the adventures, I could look back and see Mom and Dad sitting there, and they were the foundation of what I became. It's your example that taught me how to love my wife and how to love my children. A milestone of being a boy in the DeLashmit family is the day you got to go to work with Dad. In my 7th year, I learned some of life's lessons from the back of a truck, and through some long days, I watched him work hard because that's how you provided for your family. And I saw how he dealt with others, because your words and your actions are the true measures of a man. In uniform, I have proclaimed honor and courage and commitment, but I learned those from the finest American hero I know. I learned them from my father. I have rendered 1,000,000 salutes in 20 years, but I have never saluted the man and the woman who I respect the most. Dad. You're the best example of what America is made of. You taught me how to work hard, how to love my family, and that if a family believes in themselves and supports each other, they will endure any challenge. In a small Midwestern town, I met and won the heart of the love of my life. Cheryl has stood by me in every endeavor. She survived the confusions and the misgivings of my youth, which were many. She watched me when I tried and I failed, and she watched me when I tried and I won. Through all of this, she helped me to believe when I doubted, and she kept me grounded when my ego would run away from me, which was the harder of the task. She is a great wife, a tremendously caring mother, and a patriot beyond recognition. Of the 20 years, she's been alone for nearly half. Through all of those challenges, when I'd come home and complain about why me, it was always Cheryl that repointed me, redirected my efforts, and sent me back saying, why not me? Despite all the trials and sacrifices I knew she was making in her life, she always remained focused on our service. And I think you heard that from her. She believed we were making a difference. She believed in the Navy and helped me to be the instrument of her service. And in the last days, Cheryl had a unique way of keeping me on track, because even in the last days that I was in uniform and would come home early and be met by my loving wife with her saying, don't you have work you could be doing? You're not becoming a dirtbag, are you? You have given your life to this point to the success of my naval career, and I will give my remainder to making you happy. My kids have moved more than 17 times. That's an easy task when you're young and you pack up your best friends in your toy box. But over the years, as they grew, they suffered more and more each time. They rearranged their lives for the sake of their dad and his job. Even today, I've been asked a number of times why I'm retiring. I've been asked if it was the selection board, or the lack thereof, that pushed me to retirement, or whether it was a duty station or the duties or the people that I work with. But I have tried to make it abundantly clear that if you want to know why I'm leaving the Navy that I love, it's for the family that I love more. Christy, John, and Sandy, I have always been proud of you. And when other kids challenged their parents, you stood by us every time. Very soon, this ceremony will end, and we're going to go back to Illinois. And you can know that I'm going to be home. Today I'm going to say goodbye, and a lot of people will try and temper that and say it's not goodbye, it's till we see each other again. But the reality is, for many, it's goodbye. I want to say something to a group that we leave out so often, and let me throw this one in. Only one person knows what this means. It's not my family, but that I'll leave it there. Never mind, I'll explain later, Cheryl. Let me begin with a group that doesn't get addressed enough. To my civilian counterparts, you are the constant in every base that I have ever been at. You hold the corporate knowledge, you hold the history, you know what things have tried and what have failed and what have succeeded, and you have stood by, smiled, and served while every one of us in uniform showed up, rearranged furniture, painted the walls, and got a medal. You serve too. Maybe not in uniform, maybe not in the same way, but you serve too. And without your dedication, none of us in uniform would succeed. To my leaders, both past and present, I owe you both appreciation and sympathy. I owe you appreciation for the support and the friendship that you always gave to me, and for having the courage to give me a long leash. And it's for that long leash that I owe you my sympathy. Sometimes, and I'm looking at so many of my past CEOs and bosses, sometimes I would run before I was sent. And almost every boss that I worked for, and we had the same conversation where I get called into the office and they would ask, "What are you up to now?" And many times I had to just say, "Trust me." Accepting that answer and letting me run makes a difference and is the bravest act that a leader can do. These gentlemen that are on the stage are not only up here because I respect and value their friendship, they're up here to serve as examples. Each of them believed in me, invited me to work for them, and then held on for the ride. To the rest of you, I want you to see what leaders that believe in their people look like. Give it a try. You might be surprised what you're going to find. I thought about what to say to my peers, and Lee was right. If this had been a choir practice, this would go on for hours. Today is the operative word for you. If you keep the word today in your vocabulary, it's the only advice I can give you. To the junior officers, to the senior enlisted, to the junior enlisted, if you start every day with a simple statement of, "Today I will do what's best for my nation." America believes in you. They want you to be good stewards and safeguards of their freedom. Your conduct influences that belief. Guard your conduct always and never give a citizen need for concern. Today, I will do the best for my Navy. A better way is not going to come out of the Pentagon. It's not going to come out of staff commands in Washington. A better way comes from us. We are the people who know how the job gets done. You are only limited in your contributions by your imagination. If you can perceive it can be done, you can make it. Today I will do the best I can for my unit. The boardroom is the last place for innovation. Innovation should arise from the people who do the work and deliver options and decisions to your leadership. That's how we survive. There is no entity in these walls. The NNMC structures are a building of stick and brick. And when you slander your organization, what you're doing is slandering yourself, and you are pointing out your own lack of imagination and your own limits. Your organization is each of you, and as you stand side by side, you make your organization strong. Today I will care for my shipmates. I gave my daughter to the Navy. And America trusts its front-line leaders of the Navy with their children. even knowing the Navy. When I sent my daughter away, I wanted to believe in her leaders and that they would watch for her and that they would care for her like I had always tried. Your shipmates and your people need that from you. You need to uphold their trust and look after their growth both professionally and personally and watch their values. Protect their value. You need to look to them because they're the future. Today I will do the best for myself. Your skills and your knowledge and your personal abilities are the best assets that the Navy has. Although you need to look to yourself last, you need to look to yourself with tomorrow in mind. There's so much that I want to say that I think make a difference in being a son, in being a husband, being a father, and in being a sailor. Those things are going to have to wait for the next generation, because today I say goodbye. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Captain McGuire will present the Fleet Reserve Certificate. Fleet Reserve of the United States Navy. This is to certify that Bruce E. DeLashmit, a Senior Chief Hospital Corpsman, Surface Warfare, was transferred from active duty to the Fleet Reserve of the United States Navy on the 31st day of July, 1998, after 20 years of service. This certificate is awarded as a testimonial of faithful and honorable service. B.B. Potter, Rear Admiral, Medical Corps, United States Navy, Commander, National Naval Medical Center. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the benediction and remain standing for the retiring of the colors.
Let us pray. Eternal God, as we prepare to depart this place, we thank you once again for the privilege of knowing Senior Chief DeLashmit. We thank you for the gifts and the memories he leaves us with. Grant that he receive that naval benediction of fair winds and following seas. We also ask your blessing upon Cheryl and for Sandra, Christina, and Jonathan, for Mr. Joseph and Mrs. Elaine DeLashmit, and for their entire family. Bless and keep them. Cause your face to shine upon them. Be merciful unto them, and grant them your peace, both now and forever. Amen.
Color Guard, retire the colors.
Tug out, shoulder, arms. Ready, 2,
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this point, Senior D, and with your permission, geez, there's a new twist. I would like to depart from the pattern for a minute. It's a good thing you said okay, because I already wrote it in here. On your behalf, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize some very special sailors. For those of you sitting out there, the ceremony that you've participated in today did not just happen. There are a number of unsung heroes who worked diligently to ensure that this occasion was special for you. As with everything, though, there are a few who went above and beyond and should be recognized for their significant contributions. When I call your names, please stand up, or in some cases step forward, and in one other, pay close attention, as may be required. Master Chief Chris Kapagian, Senior Chief Joe Donnellan, and your behind-the-scenes crew that I know is still working. Petty Officer Mark Googe, Petty Officer Todd Kilgore, Petty Officer Chris Now, Petty Officer Donna Brenner, and last but not least, and you know who I'm talking about not stepping forward, Petty Officer Modelo, who's in the production booth. These sailors gave their all and exemplified that caring really is what we do best at the National Naval Medical Center. Bruce, they all know the special things that they did, and I'm not going to get into all that here because I doubt that they want me to tell you anyway. But I want you to know that every time I asked these individuals to do something, the common thread was, no problem, Senior Chief, it's for Senior D. I think that's a great thing. Thank you doesn't quite express what really needs to be said, but it's the best I can do. So on behalf of Senior D, and certainly from me, thank you all for caring. Imagine this for a moment, if you would. Bosun, stand by to pipe the side. This order has been passed on naval ships from the 1500s through today. Spanish, French, English, Dutch. Yes, all the navies of the world use the bosun, side boys and call to bring aboard or send ashore all ships' company officers, visiting officers, dignitaries, and VIPs. The side boys would haul on the ropes to raise or lower the boarding platform so officers would not have to climb the rat lines, which were hanging over the side and used by the enlisted crew when going ashore or to get aboard. This honor was extended to visiting officers, dignitaries, and port officials. It was not uncommon for the commanding officer of a ship to order up the jolly boat, a crew of 8 strong backs, side boys, and bosun, to send an old shipmate and fellow officer to his shore retirement, home, never to sail on naval ships again. All hands on deck was passed. Speeches were made about great victories, battles fought upon the open sea, raging storms weathered, and voyages to distant and strange lands with ports of call others only dreamed about. Then a fine sword, a brace of pistols, a rifle or musket, or maybe a sea chest of fine wood and bound in brass was presented to remind him of the crews and ships he had served with. The bosun would stand tall the side boys. The retiree would request permission to go ashore, step to the platform, and the side boys would lower away. As the jolly boat pulled away, the gunner would fire a salute from the ship's main battery. The retiree sat in the stern sheets, going ashore. In the late 1700s, the U.S. Navy set sail with new ideas, new goals, and a desire to build traditions that would last through the test of time. The U.S. Navy led the way with providing honors for crewmen. The 1800s saw enlisted men holding retirements for enlisted men for the first time. The captain would allow the jolly boat to take the enlisted retiree ashore. Then, after the Civil War, commanding officers began to hold enlisted retirement ceremonies to show the crew that he and the Navy recognized the contributions of its enlisted crewmen. Today, our Navy has given most of the pomp and circumstance, the honors, traditions, and ceremonies back to history. Time does not give us the freedom to do these things from the past, but we still heave to, stop all engines, lay about smartly, and drop anchor to pay honor to one of our shipmates going ashore. To honor the years served, the guidance, the leadership, the friendship, and the expertise that this shipmate has freely given these 20 years. Senior Chief DeLashmit, please rise. Aye, mates. For 20 years, this sailor has stood the watch. While some of us were in our bunks at night, this sailor stood the watch. While some of us were in school learning our trade, this sailor stood the watch. And yes, in those years when the storm clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizon of history, this sailor stood the watch. Many times he could cast an eye ashore and see his family standing there, needing his guidance and help, needing that hand to hold during those hard times, but he stood the watch. He stood the watch for 20 years so that we, our families, and our fellow countrymen could sleep soundly in safety each and every night, knowing that a sailor stood the watch. Today we are here to say, shipmate, the watch stands relieved. Relieved by those you have trained, guided, and led. Shipmate, you stand relieved. We have the watch. Bosun, stand by to pipe the side. Our shipmate, Senior Chief Hospital Corpsman, Surface Warfare, Bruce E. DeLashmit, United States Navy, is going ashore. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the traditional piping ashore and remain standing for the departure of the official party and the family. Side boys, post. Sound 6 bells. Senior Chief Hospital Corpsman, Surface Warfare, United States Navy, retired, departing.
Ain't got no place to lay your head. Somebody came and took your bed. Don't worry, be happy. Landlord say your rent is late. You may have to liquidate. Don't worry, be happy.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our ceremony. The Senior Chief and his family would like to extend their invitation to everyone to join them for refreshments, entertainment, and choir practice at the Bachelor Officer Quarters.